Today I'll be giving a full tutorial on how I digitize VHS tapes, but before we get too deep into it, I just want to say there are different methods out there. There's different ways of getting this done. I've spent the time to research and test out different ways, and this is what works best for me, but everybody has their own priorities. My big priorities are these three in this order. Number one, I care about compatibility. I want the files to play back and look great, not just on my computer, but also on my TV, on my grandma's computer, and basically everything in between. Number two, I care about quality. I want the audio and video to look and sound great. And then number three, I care about file size, but once again, that's in third place. So if I can get a smaller file, but means I have to sacrifice in audio and video quality, or if it means that potentially compatibility issues might come up on some other device, I won't do it. The method I have right now, I'm averaging about 5 gigs per hour. But there are definitely ways around that. If you have questions about the way I'm doing this, or if you want to know how you might be able to do it differently, if your priorities aren't the same as mine, just comment, let me know, and hey, who knows, I might make another video. All right, so let's get into it. First of all, the big question is, how do we get the video from this guy here onto the computer? Well, to answer that, mine's kind of hidden away. You need a capture card. Mine is the Elgato HD60X. This one only takes HDMI, so you need something that will convert the signal from the VCR into something for HDMI. For me, I have the RetroTink 5X. This is an upscaler. This is the most optional part of this whole process. It basically takes a signal, cleans it up, makes it look a little bit prettier than what the VCR would have originally outputted, sends it to this, and then this is plugged in with USB into my computer. One thing I will say is different VCRs can send out video using different cables. Here, I'll go to my other VCR because it's got the pretty colors. If you're shopping for a VCR, first of all, I recommend looking for something that has S-Video out for VHS playback. This is simply going to give you a better quality picture than this little yellow cable right here would. Now, having said that, S-Video is only for video, so you still will need the white and red component cables, so you can plug that all in. This will send video, this is going to send audio, and then like I said, it goes to the RetroTink. Another thing to look for too at the VCR is a TBC, a time-based corrector. I recommend looking for one that has it, especially with old and more worn out tapes. I find that it's worth it, but these players are also a lot more expensive, so hey, all comes down to your own budget. This is my VCR, it's a JVC. There's a lot of different settings that you can go through, and I'm gonna just quickly kind of show you them here. And speaking of settings, I'm also just gonna quickly go through the settings that I have on my RetroTink 5X Pro. I got a lot of this stuff from a YouTube video on a channel called Retro RGB. The guy breaks down how to set up this thing, and I'm pretty sure that these settings are just what he recommends. There is a chance though that I've changed stuff. It's been a little while since I set this up, so that's kind of it. So now let's show you the software to actually capture it. I use OBS, hit the plus here, video capture device, name it whatever you want. This is going to be for your capture card. I already have mine set up here, so I'll just double click this and show you. That's my device right there. Now my resolution is 1920 by 1080. That's standard widescreen 1080p. It's set like this because I have the RetroTink 5X, which is upscaling it to 1080p. You might be working with a different resolution. If you're not upscaling, it's probably coming out as 480i or 480p. So please set the resolution accordingly. 60 FPS. And then you can see kind of all the other settings right here. All right, so let's go into the settings. Now, when we go to audio settings, make sure it's at 48 kilohertz in stereo, and you should be fine with that with the defaults. I don't remember changing anything else here, but hey, take a quick look to make sure that yours matches mine. All right, now top into video. Video, once again, my resolution is 1920 by 1080. Maybe yours is, maybe yours isn't. But make sure that the resolution here matches whatever your capture card is putting out, and make sure your FPS is set to 60. All right, and the next we're going to go to output. Make sure this is set to advanced mode. You should be able to change it up there. Now, recording format, I recommend setting it as MKV, video encoder X264, CBR for the rate control, which is down here. I'm setting my bitrate to 30,000 kilobits per second. It's a kind of large file. Once again, it really depends on what you're working with. I highly recommend do a few test recordings at different bit rates and see what works best for you. And if you're not upscaling it to 1080p or anything like that, it probably doesn't need to be quite this high, so play around with it. Keyframe intervals, I have that set to 2. CPU usage, I set mine to medium. Tune, I set mine to film. It helps a little bit with VHS. It's kind of optional, but I recommend it. And profile high. And then that's kind of it when it comes to OBS settings. So now that we have our VCR set up, we got OBS set up, the only thing left is to get some help from our good old friend Jerry, who's providing us with this wonderful VHS tape. Basically at this step, pop the VHS in, hit start recording in OBS. I'm already recording, but for you, just hit start. And then, yeah, basically from this point on, you just play back the tape. When it's all finished, hit stop record. We're not done quite yet though. I'll show you the next step now. All right, so now that we've got that MKV from OBS, I'm bringing it into DaVinci Resolve, and I just want to do a little bit of cleanup, just touch up a few little things. First of all, one thing that bothers me to no end is this line that you see down here. This would have been cropped originally by the overscan on a CRT TV back in the day, but for now it's distracting and also could lead to a larger file size or just a lower video quality because of the way they do compression. So I'm going to do this quick and dirty. I like to just zoom in and crop it. Normally I'd be a little bit more careful, but I always like to zoom in and get it just enough that's being cropped out. I'll check the edges, make sure I'm not missing anything, and that's the way I do it. Another thing that bothers me is the blacks aren't actually black. You can tell that kind of something like in his tie, but more importantly, you can also tell that with what's supposed to be the black bars at the side here. So what I like to do, I go into the color page, I bring the curves up to this point here, and then all of a sudden the black is black. There's a quick little before, there's an after. While you're in the color page, you can also adjust the color temperature and tint. If you do this though, be very careful, do it scene by scene. Another thing that I do on some tapes that I'm not going to do on this one here is noise reduction. Play around with this. I always find it's better to be a little bit too subtle and too gentle than taking this too far. If you push this too far, you will lose detail, and we really want to preserve as much of that as we can. So I usually play around with that. Heads up though, once you add this, it's going to add a lot to your rendering time. So usually what I'll do is I'll just make a batch of these and then just render them out overnight while I'm sleeping. And then last but not least, there's the audio. Here for Jerry, it's all sounding great. I don't need to do anything. But what I've done before with customer orders is I'll throw in noise reduction. I'll find a quiet part where there's nobody talking, there's no music, there's nothing else. It's just kind of silent with a little hiss or a little whine in the background. What I'll do is I'll go up to those points, I'll hit learn, I start playing, and then before proper noise actually comes in, you want to hit learn again so it stops learning. And you can hit listen to noise only, and it's just going to play back that. And it's just like the visual noise reduction when it comes to audio. I'd rather be a little bit too subtle than go too far. We just want to get rid of that annoying little background noise. We don't want to get rid of the proper actual audio of people talking, of, you know, maybe there's music in the background, maybe there's somebody clapping their hands. You don't want to get rid of that. So be careful, test it around, play with all these buttons and knobs until you get it just right. And then yeah, at the end of all that, we're going to go to the deliver page. Oh, and here, I didn't show you. Here's a quick little before and after of the visual stuff. So you see, yes, he's more zoomed in. We don't have that annoying bar of noise at the bottom there. And the blacks are actually black, so makes a difference. All right, going to go to deliver. I have this saved as a preset, but I'll break it down for you very quickly. Okay, so for video, MP4, H.264, encoder native, network optimization. My resolution is the timeline resolution. Once again, your timeline resolution should just be set to whatever OBS recorded out of. Quality, I have it set to restricted 12,000 kilobits per second. Honestly, this might be a bit bigger than what's needed. I've tried dropping this though. I tried dropping it to 10,000 kilobits per second. There wasn't a huge drop in quality, but there was enough that I was able to tell. It was subtle, but it was there. And once again, for me, the actual video quality comes before file size when it comes to my list of priorities. So I'm keeping it at 12,000, but play around. And especially if you are working at a lower resolution, you really don't need it to be this high. Encoding profile high, keyframes every 2 frames, preset quality. Hop over to the audio tab, codec AAC, track data 320 kilobits per second, sample rate 48 kilohertz, output track, bus, stereo, and this part's optional, but I like to do it. I like to just normalize the audio to YouTube, add to render queue, make sure it's the entire timeline rendered out, and that's it. So yeah, I hope that all makes sense. I know I went through it kind of quickly. If you do have comments, questions, whatever, let me know. And also 2 quick things I want to address is the reason I do it the way that I do it is because of my small business. I'm dealing with clients where I never know what their computer system looks like. I never really know what their tech expertise level looks like. If I was doing this for myself personally, 2 big changes I would make is, first of all, instead of keeping the whole video in 16:9 with those black bars at the side, I would just crop in and export the video into some a bit more strange custom kind of resolution. The reason I don't do that though is because the video will play back differently on different devices if it's a non-standard resolution. So it really depends on what you're using. Another big thing too is I would use a more efficient file format for the video to keep size lower. Instead of MP4 at H.264, I would do an MP4 as an H.265. Much more efficient. You get just about the same quality at a much smaller file size. But once again, that interferes with compatibility of things. So yeah, that's where we are. Let me know what you think below, and if you have any questions, anything else you want to see from me in the future, is something that I'm doing, and yeah, I love interacting with all you people. Anyways, that's all for now. Take care.